Hello everybody, my name is Natalie Zannettou and this is a short video to answer some of the questions of my participants from the Mindful Parenting webinar. So the question is, a mother, her daughter had a bad day at school and she went home and talked to her mom, and what had happened is that she the teacher asked who is left-handed and she's right-handed, but she made a mistake and raised her hand and the teacher yelled at her. And she came home and she was very upset and didn't want to go to school the next day. So the mother said, well, I validated her feelings, I hugged her, I explained to her that sometimes, I told her similar cases when I dealt with, similar things, when I made a mistake and I got yelled at school, and I told her that people sometimes yell and they don't mean to, it's just that they're unable to do otherwise in that moment, but it has nothing to do with her. So it's all the things that we talked about in mindfulness. But then she said, I asked her if I should talk to the teacher, and she said yes. And then I asked her if she would talk to the teacher and tell her that it was a misunderstanding and she just didn't hear her right, and she said no. And the mother asked me, when should I expect them to have the self-confidence to do that for themselves? Well, first of all, if you want your child to go and address the teacher, you shouldn't first offer to do it for them. If you offer to do it for them, obviously they're going to take that opportunity and not want to talk to the teachers themselves. So if it's important to you that they cultivate the courage and to address issues like that and clean things up themselves, which is great, then you shouldn't offer. You should only offer if they're unwilling to or not ready to. So that's the first reason why the way you went about it would encourage her saying no. That said, if she does say no, let's say I asked her first, do you think that it's a good idea that you go and talk to your teacher, so that she knows that it's not because you weren't listening to class, it's because you thought that if you're not left-handed to raise your hand and you misunderstood the question, do you think you want to go tell her so she knows that you were actually paying attention to class? And if she says no, then you can ask her why, right? And it's important to understand, because in those ages, it's the relationship between teacher and child is very important. They give a certain authority to teachers, so they listen to them and they allow the teachers to affect their beliefs and opinions about things. So it's important for me to be aware of my child's relationship to the teacher. So if you find out that they're terrified of their teacher, or they feel that there's no room for them to say something and that they would be shut down, or if they're scared of their teacher, it's a good thing to know as a parent, and if you get concerned, to raise that concern with the teacher. And that said, there might be another reason why the child doesn't want to talk to the teacher. Maybe they're just shy. They believe that they're shy. So in that case, maybe I can tell them, who gets to say you're shy, and have the conversation of, well, if you say you're shy, then you can stay shy, but do you want to say that about yourself? And you can ask them which feels better, to talk to the teacher and clean it up, or not to talk to the teacher. And if they say, and you say, I'm not going to make you do it, I just want to know which one do you think would be best for your relationship with your children, with your relationship with your teacher. And if she says to talk to the teacher, then you can address, and why wouldn't you? And if they say, well, I just can't do that, then you can discuss that. Who gets to say what you can and cannot do, and if you're shy or if you're not shy, etc. So to sort of point to that, well, it's up to us to say who we are, and we get to say what we can and cannot do, and whether it would be beneficial for her to say to herself that she cannot, and encourage her in that way to step forward. And then you can say, but again, make it all right if they're not ready. But also, as we said, to get information about the kind of relationship they have with their children, with the teacher, and if there's any fear there, that's important for you to know and address, because we want our children to feel safe. And then sometimes we do need to address certain issues with their teachers. But the most important thing, right, is your daughter said that the teacher misunderstood her, or she misunderstood the teacher, and it's not that she was not paying attention. To me, that sounds like an excuse. So your sister, your daughter wasn't paying attention in class. Now that's not an excuse for the teacher, obviously, to start screaming, right? But at the same time, it's an opportunity for your daughter to, after you validated her feelings, after you gave her examples of that happening, after you said that sometimes, parents and teachers don't have the ability to regulate their own emotions, and they resort to anger when it would be, better if they were able to cultivate patience, etc. So you said all those things. At the same time, you want to question what she means. What do you mean you misunderstood the teacher? Because if my teacher is asking me, if I'm left-handed, and I think that my teacher asked me if I'm right-handed or if I'm not left-handed, it is true that I wasn't paying attention. So it's good to help your child assume responsibility. You can ask them, it's okay that this happened, and yes, your teacher shouldn't yell, and to find out if they generally are scared of their teacher, and to have a conversation with the teacher. But at the same time, it's important to catch it when our children are using excuses, and to use it as an opportunity to teach them responsibility. You can say, well, what do you mean you misunderstood? Well, I didn't hear her well. Okay, well, if you didn't hear her well, do you think it has to do with you and how closely you were paying attention to the class, and how mindful you were, and how concentrated you were? Or is it your teacher's fault that you didn't hear that question correctly? And she can tell her, well, okay, and you can tell her, okay, but you were listening to most of the lesson, but can you see that in that moment maybe you weren't listening, maybe you were doing something else? So to teach her to take responsibility, you can tell her, I know that it doesn't mean that you were not paying attention at all in class, and I'm sure you were paying attention to most of the class. But if you were paying attention in that moment, wouldn't you hear the question? So it's good to have them see that it's not okay that the teacher yelled, but it's good to assume responsibility, and you can say, okay, well, how about next time you try to be, more concentrated in class? And, if she did decide to talk to the teacher, it would have been important to say, Miss, you're right, in that moment when you asked the question, I wasn't paying enough attention to hear the question correctly, and I misheard the question. But I just wanted you to know that I was paying attention to most of the class. My attention in that moment did go away, and I didn't hear the question properly. But I just wanted you to know that I actually was paying attention for most of the lesson. Right? So it's important to teach them to take responsibility for the part that, they're responsible for. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.